Hello and welcome everyone. Welcome back to the video series that we are continuing, and that is on construction safety. So as we all know that in construction safety we were discussing element 9, and there were a lot of people who actually pointed me that, sir, you have not covered overview of statutory compliance and you are only talking on the other aspect of it. So what we are going to do is that today we are going to take first. Okay, so we have gone through all the 9 elements. Now in these 9 elements, what we are going to discuss today is overview of other statutory related to construction safety. So let us try and understand what is, what comes in the statutory provisions that are required to be done. So when it comes to, statutory provisions, mostly, first, let us discuss BOCW. So the legislative principles are in BOCW. So what does it say? So primarily BOCW mentions in detail the measures required for protecting the health. Now in chapter 4, that defines hour of work, welfare measures and other conditions of service of building workers. What is covered in that? Normal working hours, prohibition of employment in certain person, drinking water, latrines, urinals, scratches, canteen, all that comes under basic provision, that is in chapter 4. Now after that is chapter 7, and that is safety and health measures. So in this section 40, that is power of appropriate government to make rules for safety and health of building workers, and section 41 states framing of model rules for safety measures. So this you can refer. Then chapter 6 of Central Rule 1998, the general provisions. So what does it say? It says that excessive noise, vibration, emergency action plan, lifting and carrying of excessive weights, dangerous and harmful environment, dust, gas, fume, etc., eye protection and illumination. So these are mentioned under chapter 6 Central Rule 1998 general provision. Now coming to chapter 14, that is on the medical facility. So in medical facility, there are many things that are been listed under the legislative provisions requirement for BOCW. So what does it say? That rule 223, that is medical examination of building workers, is mandatory. Now what comes under building workers rule, that is medical examination? So there is form 11, that is certificate of medical examination under rule 223C. Form 12 is of health register, that is rule 223D, and construction medical officer, that is rule 2241. So what does it say? That is under rule 224, duty of construction medical officers are defined. Under rule 225, occupational health center requirements are being specified. So what does it say? It says that the requirement if the worker are involved in hazardous process specified in schedule 9 can be mobile and static. Service and facility as per scale schedule 10. Appointment of construction medical officer, qualification as in schedule 11, schedule 10 rule 225B, service and facilities to be provided on occupational health center, that is OHC, schedule 11 rule 1192 and rule 225C, qualification of CMO, that is Chief Medical Officer. So this is specified under schedule 11. So this comes under all the medical provision. Now 227 is about ambulance vans, 228 is about stretchers, 229 is about occupational health service greater than 500 workers. So what are the occupational health service that are required? That is availability of all items, first aid, emergency services, special medical examination provision, first aid trainings are required to be done. Advice to employer on the occupational health issues are also part of it. Health education including family planning, cooperation with inspector on occupational health service. Then immunization on tetanus, typhoid and cholera is also must in that. So that is under Rule 229. 230, that is on notice of poisoning of occupational diseases. Notice of poisoning or occupational diseases is to be given. Then Rule 231 is on first aid box. 232 is on emergency care services or emergency treatments. And key elements primarily in this again comes to the occupational health and safety management system, that is either 18,000, 14,000, 18,001, OHSAS or 45,000 now. So all that is covered. So what are the things that are covered in that? That is health hazard investigation and risk analysis is to be done. Determining controls is to be done. Strict compliances and legal requirements are to be followed. Workers' participation and awareness programs should be there. Continuous risk assessment should also be done. Taking in construction of all stakeholders or consideration of all stakeholders is a must. Then operational controls should be there. Emergency preparedness and response should be there. Mock drills should be conducted and compliance evaluation should be done, and incident investigation is also to be done under this. So this comes under the conformance of the guidelines and ILO guidelines and all. So this is all about the BOCW requirements. Now let us see what more we have in the box, and that is on the industrial law front. So when it comes to industrial laws, there are many things that are written. And in these, there are certain rules, and what we will be discussing on is that what are the industrial statutory consent or authorities that are required. So like Petroleum Act. So what does the Petroleum Act say? So it says the purpose of the legislation is to regulation of safety aspects of petroleum refining, storage, piping and transportation. So this is what the legislation on Petroleum Act 1934 states. Now, statutory consent of authority, under the statutory consent of authority, the license for storage of petroleum product beyond certain quantities is required. So that comes under the legal requirements. So now the authority here is who? Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. So they are the authority, correct? Now, inflammable substances, that is Act brings certain non-petroleum liquid under the scope of Petroleum Act 1934. Inflammable Substances Act 1952 does this. Now similarly, the Indian Boilers Act 1923 and amended in 2007, the act was enacted with the objective to provide mainly the safety of the life and property of persons from danger of explosion or of steam boilers, and for achieving uniformity in regulation and inspection during the operation and maintenance of boiler in India. Explosive Act 1984 regulates manufacture, scale, storage and handling of explosives. Now Gas Cylinder Rule 2004, technical and license requirement for manufacture and storage of compressed gas storage vessel beyond 1 ton capacity is applicable to factories and construction site. Now, permissible storage of compressed flammable gas in cylinder of total quantity more than 100 kg. Permissible for possession of more than 200 compressed gas cylinders. So here the authority is Petroleum and Explosive Safety Organization. Now Static Mobile Pressure Vessel Rule 1981. So what does it say? It says the technical and license requirement for manufacture and storage of compressed gas storage vessels above 1 ton capacity. So prior approval, design and layout for pressure vessel as per 5 of Static and Mobile Pressure Vessel Rule. Authority is Petroleum and Explosive. The Explosive Rules 2008 regulates the manufacturer's sales, storage and handling of explosive gas. Now Food Safety Standard Act, that is regulation of food manufacture, packing and storage. Then Food Safety Standard Rule, that is on regulation of storage, of distribution of and import of the goods. So that is also part of it. Now comes the final, that is the Motor Vehicle. Now Motor Vehicle Act, so the regulation of motor vehicle. So RTO, certificate for fitness of vehicles, is to be a right. Here the authority is RTO. Now Central Vehicle is also part of it. Public liability insurance is also part of it. But what we are more interested in is that what are the statutory and legal requirements that are required. So let us discuss other laws. Now this is only up to the industrial law. So industrial law in details are many. So like motor vehicle health, public liability, national building code. So every standard has its own detailed requirements, and the standard specifies certain things. So detail like Central Motor Vehicle Rules 1989 amended in 2005, the details implementation of Motor Vehicle Act, registration, license, technical aspects, speed, size, cargo limits, etc. all are defined in that. Public liability insurance, certain industries to obtain insurance to cover damage caused to public and environment by accidental caused by the industry. So that comes under the PILs, that is Public Liability Insurance Act 1991. Now, Public Liability Insurance Rule 1991 is on details for implementation of Public Liability Insurance Act 1991. Now, National Building Code 2005 specification of all types of buildings is given in that. Standard weights and measures regulation for measuring devices. Standard weight and measures for environment are coming under the provision of enforcement for the standard and weights and measures of the Act. Not only this, land acquisition, mine, and all other rules are there. So all these rules primarily focus on the set of different set of authorities that are associated to it. Primarily for a construction site, here what we are discussing is, so you have explosive safety operations, you have RTO, and then you have pollution control board under your authority also. But that doesn't come under the industrial law. So that comes under environmental law. So let us see what are the details that are required in environment. So we have seen industrial law. Now we will be seeing environment protection, forest and wildlife laws. So when it comes to environment protection and forest and wildlife law, so the very first law that comes in mind is air. So what are the things that we can pollute when it comes to environment? So we can pollute air, we can pollute land, we can pollute water. So all these laws are being made to safeguard and to ensure proper safety in these aspects. So first is air. So Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981 states an act to provide for the prevention, control and abatement of air pollution for the establishment with the view to carrying out aforesaid purpose of board for conferring on the assessing of such board power and function relating thereto and for matters connected therewith. So this is the reason why it is there. But what are the legal requirements that you have to fulfill? So what you have to do, monitoring of air quality parameters near construction site as per guidelines of CPCB, that is Central Pollution Control Board, or SPCB, that is State Pollution Control Board. So what you have to do, you have to perform this comes under your legal requirements. So Air Prevention and Control Pollution Act 1981, what you have to do, you have to make sure that you are monitoring your site or the facility with air monitoring as per CPCB and SPCB norms. Now similarly, this was the act. Now comes the rule. So what the rule also states the same. So the rule to state that all industry operating within the designated air pollution control areas must obtain permit from the state board. The state also requires to provide emission standards for industry and automobiles after consulting the central board. So here, monitoring of air quality parameters near the construction site as per guidelines of CPCB and SCPCB is required. Now, not only this, there is one more constraint in construction site is on the Biodiversity Act 2002. So what does the Biodiversity Act do? So the act provides for the conservation of biological diversities, sustainable use of its components and equitable shares of benefit arising out of the use of biological resources. So whatever resources you are going to consume, you have to be very specific and clear that yes, this is a natural resource, we are consuming it from our land, so we need to maintain a record of it. Coming to biodiversity rule. So this regulates and appoints the chairman, its team along with non-official members and appointed members and appointment of secretary and enforce biodiversification program in the state. Now similarly, Environment Protection Act is also there. So what does that do? The main objective of the act is to provide the protection and improvement of environment, which includes water, air, land, human being and other living creature, plant, organism and properties and for matter connected therewith. So this is under Environment Protection Act. Now Environment Protection Rule states a rule protecting, improving the quality of environment and preventing the abating environment pollution standards, emission and discharge of environmental pollutants for the industry operations or processes. Environment Impact Assessment Notification 2006. The enforcement some restrictions and prohibition new subject to activities or the expansion or modifications of existing projects or alter activities based on their potential environmental impact. Now, environmental clearance as per EIA notification 2006 is required to be, taken by the environmental agency. So, who is the authority? So, the authority here is Ministry of Environment and Forest and state government or state pollution control bodies who actually give you clearance for whether you can set up this thing here or not. Similarly, Environment Stink for Industrial Project Rule, that is a rule laid down detailed provision related to the area to avoid for sitting of industry, precautionary measures to be taken for site selection as also the aspect of environmental protection and should have been incorporated during the implementation of the industrial development project. Similarly, Manufacturing Storage of Hazardous Chemical Rule 1989 states, rule with an objective of proper management of manufacturer, storage and import of hazardous chemical is to be done. Similarly, the Hazardous Waste Management Regulation is also part of it, wherein disposal of PCB approved vendor and records. So here the authority is Pollution Control Board. For any type of hazardous material, may it be biodiversity, may it be ozone depletion, may it be batteries, may it be anything. So anything where electronic components or plastic components are involved, the authority is Pollution Control Board. So type of for noise also, the type approval of diesel generators for conformance of noise limit as per Schedule 1 and EP Rule 1986. So there the noise pollution control board has noise is also to be considered as one of the factor. Similarly, water cess is also required. So record of water cess paid is to be maintained. This also comes under local municipal corporation. So there are 2-3 authorities in environment that we have discussed. Similarly, for e-waste management, it is also there. Plastic waste management also, pollution control board is there. So more or less, pollution control board, local municipal corporation and Ministry of Environment and Forest and state government are the main authoritative organizations for environment protection and forest wildlife laws. So I hope that you have liked the video, and if you have seen this video by now till now, so do subscribe, do share and do like our videos. We'll keep on posting more such contributing videos with your help. Do subscribe to us for our motivation. Thank you very much, friends.